Hi, this is Douglas Dennis, founder of Winning International Inc. Welcome back. Right now, I'm going to talk to you about one of the most impactful ideas that you might have ever heard in your life. It's inspired by the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you know me, you know that I love this book. I've been reading it over and over again. I'm reading it for the 12th time right now, and you might think that that's illogical. Why would you read the same book over and over and over again? Don't you just read a book and you got the information and then you put it on the shelf? Well, in the university, I studied psychology, and one of the things I studied was memory. I was in one of the memory labs, and one of the things that I learned since then also is that you only retain 10% or less of something that you read. That means you're going to forget 90% of what you read. So if you just read something one time, there's a lot of people who have read this book. There's millions of people that have read this book. Are all of them rich? So it says on the front, this book could be worth $1 million to you. But is it guaranteed to be worth $1 million to you just by reading it once? How about reading it over and over and over again? Don't you think that that might have a better chance of sinking in and really changing the wiring of your brain and how it works? So first, I challenge you, read this book. It's a great book. You'll get a lot out of it for sure, no matter what your interests are. Riches come in many different forms. It's not just about money. It could be in happiness, health, relationships. So it's just an amazing book all around. And Napoleon Hill took over 20 years researching before he finished this. So definitely well worth the read. So the chapter 11 is called The Mystery of Sex Transmutation. And you might think, what in the world is sex transmutation? This sounds science fiction or something. Well, right here it says in the first line, the meaning of the word transmute is, in simple language, the changing or transferring of one element or form of energy into another. A lot of people don't understand this concept. Maybe they've never heard of it before, definitely, but also if you're one of the people that has read this, maybe you don't understand. So what Napoleon Hill says is there's 3 constructive potentialities of sex. He says the emotion of sex, which I think is an important distinction. So he says, 1, these are the 3 constructive potentialities of the emotion of sex. Is 1, the perpetuation of mankind. Okay, that should be obvious. If you've been to the 3rd grade, you should probably know about that by now. Number 2, the maintenance of health. And he says, as a therapeutic agency, it has no equal. That's very interesting as well, that it's very healthy to have healthy physical sexual relationships. Number 3, the transformation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation. Wow. Let me read that again. The transformation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation. So this is what we're talking about today. Most people, they want to do something great. If you ask them and you get it out of them, there's something that most people want to express their greatness in some way, but obviously not everyone does that. Look around in the world. Look outside. The people are not living in excellence. they're living in mediocrity. So this subject can take them from mediocrity to the level of genius. And I started to really understand this issue deeply yesterday as I talked about it in depth with my wife. So, first of all, this idea of genius is a little bit confusing for me to talk about it first, because no one is supposed to refer to themselves as having genius. That's not humble. That's vain or rude to consider yourself a genius in the culture I come from. It's not right. So, but on the other hand, everyone should be trying to reach the level of genius at whatever you do. So, one of the things that Napoleon Hill mentions in here somewhere is that all the great artists, musicians, philosophers, poets, they all have learned how to harness the power of sex transmutation. And what this basically is the transferring of that energy. Maybe you could call it that arousal, that heightened vibration. Of course, everyone's felt a natural, let's just call it being turned on. If you've ever been turned on, then you know that something happens to you. And what Napoleon Hill's saying is that the sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by this desire, men and women develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times. So, of course, some people talk about this more openly than others, but everyone has experienced this in some way. When you're really turned on, it motivates you to higher and higher and higher levels of creativity, imagination, physical energy. I've felt this before, definitely. This also goes in a negative way when maybe you've experienced a bad breakup, or maybe you haven't been able to connect with someone that you desire to be with, and this drives you mad, which another thing he talks about is that this energy can have the destructive power of a cyclone if it's not controlled. This can drive people to commit murder, which, if you think about that, that's really powerful. To kill another person, that takes a lot of power. It's not beneficial, it's not good at all, but it is powerful. So this can go one way or another. People are driven mad by the desire, the sexual desire, and people are driven to do great things by this desire. So it's been proven that happily married people are healthier and live longer, and I think this could be one of the reasons. And also, everyone is affected by this in some way, but without the understanding of it on a deep level, what Napoleon Hill says about most people is that they get this desire, this sexual desire, and then they go to express it in the physical form as quickly as they can. And he said this lowers them to the level of beasts. So this lowers them to just being animalistic. And that's the opposite of raising your level to the level of a genius, where is more divine, is more inspired, creative, positive. How do you transmute this energy into another form other than the physical form? And he's not saying that the physical expression of this is bad. What he's saying is just purely going for the physical expression of it lowers you, which I totally agree with. We've all seen certain people who are obsessed with the physical activity of sex, and it's destructive. It hurts people. It hurts themselves. You're not stretching yourself to another level. Anyone can do that. Anyone can just express that physically. If you have male or female parts, you can somehow, destructively or not, somehow express that, even by yourself. And that's not really doing any good for anyone. It's a temporary satisfaction, and it's done, and it's over with. And what Napoleon Hill is saying, the way to achieve genius is to take that same heightened energy, that arousal being turned on to another level, which he's saying is the highest form of arousal or desire for a human. So think about that. That's powerful. That's the most powerful we can become, is with this energy. So then transmuting it means taking that energy and turning it towards something else. Turning it towards art. Turning it towards your passion. That doesn't mean never doing it, the physical activity, but what it means is this makes me think of that Marshmallow Test. If you've ever heard of this Marshmallow Test, they tested children by putting them at a table. This was a psychological test, and they put marshmallow in front of them. And then they continued following these children later in life. And the children that grabbed the marshmallow were less successful than the children that could resist that desire to get it satisfaction right away. So if you can patiently take your energy, that heightened sexual energy, and find another creative outlet in whatever you're interested in something positive, then you're going to go to another level. And once you really unlock this, you will go to the level of a genius. So I hope that you get something out of this, and really, this could really positively impact the whole world. If people understood more deeply about topics like this, because a lot of people are afraid to talk about this. A lot of people are afraid to talk about anything sexually related, so then the children never learn anything about it, and then they learn it from children, they learn it from other children at school, or they learn it from TV or movies, which isn't the best information. That's shallow or limited amount of information. It's usually just funny or based around jokes, and sometimes it's negative. And let's face it, people out there are not all having a healthy sex life, and part of that is transmuting that desire into something else positive, because that will take you to another level. And a lot of people have figured this out, and we regard them as geniuses. And maybe they don't know exactly what it is that they're doing, but this is what they're doing. They're taking this heightened passion, energy, and they're turning it into some kind of art or work or something beneficial for the rest of the world, because that's powerful. When you're turned on by something so powerful, you can do amazing things. So I encourage you to read Think and Grow Rich and watch some of my other videos. My hope for you is that you live a dream life, the life that you really wish for and dream about. And it's not going to happen randomly. It's going to happen on purpose. So have an amazing day on purpose. This is Douglas Dennis, and I'll see you soon. Peace.